what we got on November 9 was a ceasefire agreement. It was not a resolution. The conflict is not solved.
Then would you say the Russian peacekeeping force, predominantly Russian, Russia finally got what it always wanted? And is there still a possibility to have a OSCE monitored peacekeeping force, or at least split?
I don't think so. I don't think so. You have the Turkish Factor now in the South Caucasus. That was not the case earlier. In the previous stages of the negotiations, there will be a common Russian-Turkish monitoring center on the territories of Azerbaijan, according to the agreement, which is not very clear. But recently, a few days ago, Russia and Turkey did talk about that there will be a common monitoring center on the territories of Azerbaijan between Turkey and Russia. But Turkish soldiers or peacekeepers will not be, certainly there will be no Turkish peacekeepers in Karabakh, purely Russian. Russia, from the beginning, categorically rejected alien or foreign, let me say foreign peacekeepers to be deployed in Nagorno-Karabakh. And actually, what is happening now is this. What could happen in the future, we don't know. I don't want to predict, but there is a Russian insistence on purely Russian deployment in Nagorno-Karabakh. Yes, okay. And this is what happened.
Let's help to disentangle this. What are, from the Russian perspective, the plus and the minus points of having a purely Russian peacekeeping force? What are the implications for Armenia of the all-Russian nationality? And then also, can we put this into the context, Turkey, the aggressor, now part of a monitoring platform? What are these implications? This is a very new situation.
For the Armenians in Armenia and Nagorno-Karabakh, although there is anger in Armenia and frustration, that telling us that the Russians actually did not help Armenia, but actually Russian peacekeepers could inspire trust, at least. I mean, in Nagorno-Karabakh, we should not forget that there is a Russian force actually on the Russian-Armenian in Gyumri already. I mean, 5,000 probably the number, and that force was there in order to maintain the peace at the Russian-Armenian border. And it was part of the Russian-Armenian friendship and military cooperation agreement between them that was signed in the 1990s also. So the United States proposed Scandinavian forces to be deployed in Nagorno-Karabakh. We read about it. So Russia rejected. And, yes, categorically, because that was the position. I don't know to what extent the Scandinavian forces were an option, by the way. So this is to tell you that the South Caucasus is a zone of Russian influence, and Russia did not want foreign forces to be deployed there. So for the Armenians, I mean, as I said, I mean, whether we like it or not, Russia is still, there is a friendship, there is and military agreement between the two countries, and Armenia cannot ignore the Russian factor in Armenia and in the South Caucasus, and there is no other foreign country that can uh, that can actually address this conflict by marginalizing Russia. So that is impossible. So that's why, I mean, you have a situation now, whether we like it or not, the Russian peacekeepers inspire hope, at least. They inspire hope, and they can provide security, physical safety to Armenians in Stepanakert and elsewhere in Nagorno-Karabagh to prevent attacks by the potential attacks from the Azerbaijani side, because you have Turkey also now. So that is the perspective, if you like, from Armenia. There is no other option.
Yeah, so to be clear, from a geopolitical perspective, the Russian forces make sense and may even inspire hope. But from just a security perspective, theoretically, I'm really talking here in parentheses, UN Blue Helmets, French Legion forces or Scandinavian forces could provide this as well. However, this would create problems with Russia, which would stir geopolitical unrest. Do we understand correctly?
Yes, yes. Now we don't know what will be the outcome once the negotiations resume. What will be the position of the United States and France? Because these are co-chairs, and Russia negotiated the agreement without them. It negotiated the agreement with Prime Minister Pashinyan, without even including the president of Armenia, Ilham Aliyev, and President Erdogan. So, and Putin, to tell you, I mean, to summarize this and to tell you that one more thing, Russia is the winner in this case. Russia is the winner because Russia has been trying to enter the South Caucasus for a long time. And now it entered the South Caucasus. There are Russian boots on the ground, on the territory. That was the aim since the 1990s. Now it has become reality. Now, concerning Turkey, the geopolitical, I would like to emphasize the geopolitical here that you referred to. We cannot ignore what is happening in Syria also. Because President Erdogan, after the agreement was announced, declared, the 9 November agreement, President Erdogan made an announcement, a statement, and he said, hope we could cooperate with Russia in the same way, and we can coordinate with Russia in the same way in Syria to solve the conflict in Syria. This is the geopolitical dimension, one of the geopolitical dimensions of the conflict. And to add another point here, because I was following what was happening in the Idlib province in Syria, Russia has been insisting that Turkey withdraws some of its observation posts in Idlib and Turkey. And Turkey was ignoring it. Peculiarly, interestingly, during the war, during the 43 or 44 days war, suddenly we read in the newspapers and we heard in the media and we saw on TV that Turkey suddenly decided to withdraw its soldiers from one of the observation posts in Idlib. Now, The question is why during the 44 days war and not before or not after? It seems that there were negotiations being conducted between Russia and Turkey, the geopolitical dimension. Very quickly, few days, Turkey withdrew from another observation post in Idlib, 2 observation posts. And actually these developments were taking place, happening at the same time when the war was raging in Nagorno-Karabagh and no ceasefire was holding. Remember, 3 ceasefires were actually broken. I mean, didn't hold even for 24 hours because there was insistence from the Turkish side, that Azerbaijan continues the military operations until total victory. So the first one brokered by Russia didn't hold. The second one, the French intervened, it didn't hold. The third one, Secretary of State Pompeo intervened, it didn't hold. And it was the last one, the fourth one, that actually was being negotiated. And it is not secret anymore. Putin was negotiating the ceasefire with the Turkish side during the war. He was negotiating it. And it seems that there was an agreement. There was a sort of agreement. I mean, roles being played actually by Turkey and by Russia, and that Turkey renders some concessions to Russia outside the South Caucasus. In return, Turkey would accept the deployment of the Russian peacekeepers and make it acceptable for Azerbaijan also, proposing the common monitoring center between Turkish and Russian officials, military officials on the territories of Azerbaijan. There is also the Libya issue, where Turkey and Russia are supporting rival parties in Libya. So that is also another geopolitical dimension of the conflict. And the announcement statement by President Erdogan was very clear, very, very clear. I've been telling Putin that we can coordinate in Syria too, in the way that we did in Nagorno-Karabakh.
So, I mean, that is very interesting, and I think it merits more of our attention. The Turkish factor, I mean, the Russian perspective one, it's easier to understand. But Turkey, which has so many conflicts with neighboring countries, which really becomes emboldening, especially with the depreciation of the lira. What is their longer term plan? What is their strategy? Do they want to have a new Russian puppet, or are things actually the other way around? Because
this is a challenge. This is the challenge now. Whether Russia would allow more Turkish influence in the South Caucasus or not. Mr. Erdogan has been conducting an expansionist foreign policy. In the Eastern Mediterranean, with Greece and Cyprus, in Libya, in Syria, and another announcement by President Erdogan, who said that where our soldiers are and will be, those areas belong to us. This neo-Ottoman dream and expansionist policy, he claimed Aleppo, he claimed Mosul in Iraq. Now, given that Turkey it is a win for Turkey also, because Turkey is now in Azerbaijan militarily, in the South Caucasus. Now, certainly it was, and it has been a Turkish dream. I mean, to extend its influence all the way to Central Asia from the South Caucasus, the Muslim republics of Central Asia. That's why I said a while ago, this is now a challenge that Russia will face, and to what extent Russia would tolerate additional Turkish influence in the South Caucasus. So again, I mean, we need to wait and see a little bit. I mean, to what extent this relationship between Russia and Turkey in the South Caucasus would shape, and accordingly, I mean, things would become clear. I don't think that Russia would allow Turkey to extend its influence all the way to Central Asia, unless, and I emphasize this, unless if President Putin is revising his policy that he has been pursuing since 2000 when he became president. There was a clear Russian policy to maintain Russian influence in the former Soviet republics. Now Turkey entering the scene in the South Caucasus, in Azerbaijan in particular, is there a review of Russian policy now? If there is, that would mean more cooperation with Turkey in the near future.
I mean, that's also a time bomb for Russia. Russia, as we know, has been the fastest growing empire in the world during the Soviet Union, etc. I think adding 2,000 square kilometers a week. The question now becomes, if Turkey follows Russian ideals, it will be much harder to control. And even strategic play from Russia may ultimately backfall on their backs into an uncontrollable Turkish imperialistic attitudes.
Yes, but there is the oil factor here also that we should not ignore. The Turkish Stream, for example, there are trade and economic mutual benefits between Turkey and Russia. And we saw that when the helicopter was shot down by the Azerbaijani forces just before the ceasefire, a Russian helicopter was shot down. Putin actually ignored it. Probably Azerbaijan apologized. I mean, as if history is repeating itself. Back to 2015, when a Turkish plane was shot down in Syria by the Turks themselves. I mean, Russia didn't take quick action, although, I mean, there was, although Russia actually imposed, followed a sort of policy preventing actually Turkish goods from entering the Russian market, and on the other hand, Turkey took measures. Russian tourists didn't come to Turkey. Tourism, economy, trade, economy, these are, I mean, these are fields where there is a lot of mutual benefit and cooperation between Turkey and Russia. So at the end, Turkish-Russian relations improved after shooting down the Russian plane in Syria. Here also, there are the oil and gas actually benefits and revenues and trade relations and economy. So Russia would not antagonize Turkey to that extent, so that those mutual benefits are harmed. But at the same time, I think Russia, I mean, would not tolerate additional Turkish influence unless, I repeat again, unless if there is a change in Russian policy. Because what is happening in Belarus, what is happening in Kyrgyzstan now, we should take all these factors into consideration. I mean, is Russia abandoning its proxies and old allies and probably paving the way for the rise of a new leadership in those countries, including Armenia? I do not actually accept. Armenia is not an exception. So if there is a review in Russian policy, certainly there will be a new leadership in Belarus, in Kazakhstan, in Armenia also. That's why we may witness leadership change in Armenia. We may. Unity in Armenia, unity in the diaspora are the guarantees to reach peace and solve this conflict, provided that the other side, the Azerbaijani side, is also ready to address it, to be realistic, to be aware, and to acknowledge that there is a particular identity there that should live freely and determine its fate.